All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for today, leading up to the eventual start for The Walking Dead Season 10. In this one, we're going to start off by giving our thoughts on 10 years of Dead, considering that Season 10, and, well, this season coming up, now that Season 9 is over, is a decade of Dead, the 10th year of The Walking Dead. Let's reflect. Alright guys, so I hope everything is going well, and I want you to leave your comments below on what you think about this one. 10 years of The Walking Dead. They made it. They finished their first decade, and now they're going to be in double digits, as Season 10 is going to set to premiere in the fall. It's already been renewed, so it's already, we know it's coming and everything, and they're already working on it now, and they'll probably start filming in about a month or two. In about a month or two, Season 10 will be underway as far as production goes, and man, really crazy stuff, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts. So we will do some Q&A questions in this one afterwards, but I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and give our thoughts on The Walking Dead, even getting to 10 years. If you guys missed it yesterday, we did a video where Norman Reedus has basically said that if they ever kill him off, he's going to burn down the studio or something of that effect. So he wants to stay in the show going forward, and Scott Gimple has basically said that they're getting set up with 2020, because they started in 2010. 2020, of course, coming up next year, at the end of this year. They're getting started with their plans for the next decade of The Walking Dead, which is really a crazy thought to have in mind, that The Walking Dead's been on for a decade. It's going to be a decade in the fall. It's 10th year, 10 years of Dead, and they're planning out the next decade. So that's how committed AMC is with their Dead Quarters. If you guys Google AMC and you see their headquarters, they call it like Dead Quarters now, because it's crazy how The Walking Dead has just become like the major draw for AMC. Like all the other shows AMC has, nothing has ever compared to The Walking Dead. So it's understandable why they want to continue for a whole another decade with the show and go on for another 10 years. And personally, all around it, I'm happy that they're going to do that. And I think it's just the way you think of it. A lot of people, they want the series to kind of end. But if you think of it in a way, it kind of already has. Rick's part of the series is basically over. So you could look at episode 5 of season 9 as sort of a series finale if you want to, and kind of consider it that in your own mind, and then consider it after that as kind of being the continuation or the spinoff with your other survivors that are still there, which isn't many, right? Which is not a whole lot. So it's becoming a new thing. So I'm looking over the seasons here. Link will be in the description to RottenTomatoes.com, so you guys can check it out, as well as the episode guide, so you can look at episode to episode and year by year, season by season of the show, and how things have kind of gone with The Walking Dead. So I think it's an incredible accomplishment that they got this far, that they got to the 10 years, and I'm really happy to see that not only are they at that point, but they're also, wanting to go even more in and expand it into the movies, expand it into another series, bring some of the characters into Fear to bolster that. And it sounds like in the future there's going to be even more connectivity between all the three, and you're going to have sort of, independent Walking Dead stories happening, but they will, it sounds like they're going to cross over more and more in the future as things go through. So that's going to be interesting to see. So yeah, when the series started off season 1, so I've said this before a few times. When the series first started, I thought it was going to suck. I had read the comics up to current release date at that time, which was about at the end of the prison story arc. So when the governor attacks the prison, when the series first aired in 2010, that was about where the comics were at. The comics were about at that point where the prison was just wrapping up and the governor had just attacked, and you were kind of in that type of time frame. So we knew, based on the comics, that the comic book storyline was incredible. It was really, really incredible, and at that time, it was the best zombie apocalypse story I think that's ever been written or ever done. And people, a lot of times, they like to make fun of comics and this kind of stuff because just the genre that it is, and they kind of go towards novels as being more, I don't know, as like a higher medium or something. And usually that, those stories that are done in that format would be better. But for me, as an old school fan of zombie apocalypse shows, ever since I saw Night of the Living Dead when I was just a kid, in grade school and everything, it's one of the first horror movies I saw, and I just loved it. once the Walking Dead comic book series kind of came out and got some traction and got running for a while, around maybe issue 40 or 50 or something like that, people started to really realize how great it was. And they're, going from that, they decided, Frank Darabont and the team and Gail and her and everybody decided to do the Walking Dead television series, and AMC decided to go for it. NBC wanted to turn it into some kind of procedural crime drama bullshit, which I'm glad they didn't, because that would have been terrible. And I don't think it'd be still running if they had gotten it and if they were going to do that with it. HBO passed on it. They didn't take it. So that's funny information to know that HBO passed on The Walking Dead. I bet you they're, kicking themselves as hard as they possibly can, considering they almost got both Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead, right? And imagine if that would have happened. So AMC gets The Walking Dead. It starts off with season 1. The first season, Rotten Tomatoes got 88%, 6 episodes. It was a short season, but I thought it was a great start. That said, I didn't know how long that type of series could run for, because it's not a procedural crime drama. It's not the type of series that you can easily crank out episodic episodes and nothing means anything and everything recycles at the end of every episode and the story arcs don't really continue. And it doesn't matter if you miss one, you can watch it the next week and it really doesn't change anything. Whereas with The Walking Dead being an ongoing series, you have to watch the previous episodes to know what's happening currently and what's going to happen in the future and everything. You need to know who's alive and what happens to them and everything. If you miss some, you can still watch and everything, but it's a different type of show. So with it being such, we really didn't know in terms of expectations how great the series was going to become, how long it was going to run for. We just didn't know. The first season was like 6 episodes. It was awesome. We were looking forward to the second season. It got renewed. It came back, and it was probably around the premiere episode or so of the second season, I think, when I started to really think to myself, like, this is amazing. Like, this is really, really amazing. By the time the second season wrapped up and you had the Shane story arc wrapping up, you had Rick kind of taking over as the overall series lead. And it was done very well because there was points in the first couple of seasons where it almost seemed like it was Shane's show. It almost did. And then, of course, by the end, Rick sort of takes over 100% as the Rick-tatorship, as the lead of the group and of the series. The second season was 81% for season 88. And the second season did have some slow parts throughout it because they didn't have as much of a budget as they did for the first year. So there were some times when they were on the farm and some of the episodes there wasn't a whole lot happening. There were certain episodes they would only have a couple zombies or something, which was a bit different to see. But the drama was amazing. And the finale for season 2, I think, was really, beside the dying fire and the stuff with Shane, Better Angels, and wrapping things up, 18 Miles Out was really some incredible drama in a zombie apocalypse we've never seen before, and a nice twist at the end with the big character death, which kind of showed the audience that, we're going to kill off just about anybody, and as time went on, they pretty much showed that we're going to kill off even more than who you think. Like, we're going to kill off people even you don't think we're going to kill off. We're going to go there, which was really crazy. So the third season came up. 88%. This is about when it became my favorite series of all time. It was about the third season because the third season was very fast-paced with Glenn Mazzara. It was very action-oriented, and it became sort of somewhat, for me, I thought it was superior. Now, not everybody feels that way to the first 2 seasons. Some people like the third season, some people don't like it. The ending is a bit lackluster with the finale with the governor attacking. They've done better action later on. It was okay. It wasn't terrible, but basically the governor becoming a teen killer and wiping out the Woodbury fighters that are with him, soldiers, if you will, and kind of losing all power and everything that happened to him. Andrea, some of the deaths were, a lot of people didn't like that. But Merle was really fun in the third season. You got to see a bit of concentration there for Daryl, and Daryl's starting to develop. At this point, Daryl's still kind of a sort of a background character. I mean, he's there. Everybody loves him, right? He's funny sometimes, and you tied my brother to a roof and you left him there, and just the different stuff that he would do, right? And then he's holding the parts where he's holding the baby and stuff, and all the girls are gushing, right? I love it, little ass kicker and stuff. So he's in the background, right? He's there. There's a few times him and Merle save Rick, for example. So he's got some badass moments and everything. He's sort of your resident series badass, but he's not really at the forefront yet, right? Rick is still on all the covers. Rick is on all the first 5 covers, and then Daryl's just in the background of the 5th one. He's standing there. He's kind of looking, but it's still Rick at the forefront. Even season 6 too. It's TWD and Rick's right there, right? So it's season 7 as well. we go on from season 3, lots of fun. Really love season 3. Love the governor stuff. Thought it was great. Season 4, we switch over to Scott Kimball's first season and 16 episodes as well, same as season 3. And season 4 is a bit mixed, 83%. Some people love it. Some people thought the second half dragged a little bit with the claimers and stuff like that. But all around, I think everybody agrees. Or was that season? Trying to think of the seasons here, right? I'm trying to get everything in line here. No, that was that's right. That was season 4, right? Because season 3 wraps up Governor's story arc in the first half of season 4. Second half, you get the Claimer's story arc, and the group coming together at Terminus for season 5. So it was set up great for the finale. It was a cliffhanger finale in the train card and everything, and it got everybody excited for season 5. And it worked. And that's one thing that during Scott Kimball's seasons here, he did better than previous, I'd say for sure, is that he really set up some awesome cliffhangers and definitely had people coming back and people waiting to see, which some people hate him for that because you got to wait to find out what happens next. But the anticipation is killer, and so he's a master at that, and I don't think anybody can argue that. So season 4 was great. Governor wraps up. Joe and the Claimers second half. Prison falls, right? So that's a big one. Prison falls in the first half. So it was cool, and they go on the road again, and we get some mini story arcs in season 5 with eventually them at Alexandria, right? So we get I remember Glenn concentration in this season a lot. He had a lot of good stuff in this season. Rick was still at the forefront, but you had other characters kind of pulling ahead sometimes as some episodes, Abraham and some of the others, and Carol and Beth, for example, the first half of season 5, 89%. That's a lot of people regard season 5 as the best season of the series. It's fun because they sort of find their sanctuary with Alexandria, and you introduce some of the Alexandrian characters in that, and you have Morgan coming back. So season 5 is great because you just have a lot of things going on at the same time, just a lot of stuff happening, and all at once, and it's really exciting. And everybody up until now kind of, I think, agreed that season 5 was one of the best seasons of the show. If it wasn't their favorite, they'd have to have it, pretty close because Morgan and everything was really awesome. Season 6, personally, is my personal favorite, as being a fan of the old school zombie apocalypse movies and that, and getting to see the biggest zombie herd ever, which has sort of a monster movie type of feels, the way I always describe it, for the first 9 episodes of season 6, with it culminating in No Way Out, which I thought was amazing, killing off some of the Alexandrians that I thought they might not. Like, I thought some of the Alexandrians would stay on further, and they didn't. They basically wiped them out, a lot of them anyway. But it's the first time, it's a turning point for the series, because it's a time where the survivors are no longer scared of the dead. They're willing to go out there and just say F it and stand up for themselves and face them. And instead of flighting, they get to fight in this one and take on what seemed to be an insurmountable amount of walkers all at once by themselves. Awesome stuff. Season 6, personally, a personal favorite for mine. Only 77%, so not a lot of people agree with me. There's a lot of people who don't like season 6 that much. Negan's coming up. Dwight's coming in as a villain. Daryl gets his own episode there, which is good. And not that he hasn't had some before, like back in season 3, him and Merle and the hallucinations and stuff. So he's had some episodes throughout the series, but he's becoming more and more prevalent. He's the one leading the herd on the bike and everything, which is super badass. And the second half is really great to set things up with the Saviors, I think. So, and then you bring in the other communities, a larger world and everything, and really starting to grow and become bigger and find this new home base, which is really good, and at Alexandria and the others as well, too, and kind of how that affects the story. So we got that with season 6. Loved it. Incredible season, for me personally. Hard to say for me if it's still my favorite or if season 9 has beaten it at this point. I don't know. I have to think on that a little bit more. Maybe we'll do a season's rank soon. And that's not what this is. I'm just reflecting on the different parts of the show and that. Season 7, 63%. Season 8, 64%. So these are the 2 years of the rise up for the Saviors and everything that the series basically kind of, I don't want to say fell off, but it's sort of what they did in season 7 and season 8. It for some reason, and I don't know why, because for me personally, they gave me pretty much just what I wanted, right? You brought in more communities with Jadis and the garbage people, right? You brought Negan in, and I guess a lot of people didn't like Negan, because I can't help but say 64, 63, way lower than usual, and these are Negan's most prevalent seasons, with season 8 being all out war. I think of season 8 as sort of like a finale for, almost a finale for the series, but a finale for the first, like all the ramp up of all the seasons up to that point. It brings us the biggest season of action they've ever done. The most action ever. Some awesome fights like Rick and Negan in the building and Jadis kind of coming in at the end and stuff. Lucille and everything. and Simon and Negan, which I thought was great. Simon added as an additional character. Season 7, I can see that one. There was it did drag a little bit, right, with the Savior story arc, but it was in line with the comics and how long it took in the comics and everything. So I guess for some reason after the season 7 premiere and you had Glenn and Abraham leave, the series lost a bit of heart, and then people didn't stay as much. So that's viewed as kind of the weak point of the series for some reason. For me, season 8, I view season 7. I can agree that is a bit of a weak point at this time, just with how people, reflect on everything. Granted, it didn't start that way. The season 7 premiere was, the most hyped episode ever. It just fell off after that real fast. It's kind of like it started with a finale, and that didn't really translate that well, I guess, to what people wanted to see and how people felt. The 8th season, huge war, obviously, all the way through. Not everyone's cup of tea. Zombie apocalypse series. War and action is not necessarily what everybody wants to see. And the ending for that as well, too, was kind of a twist ending. There was lots of twists throughout it, which I thought were good. Eugene, and whose side is he on? You don't know until the very end. And it turns out he's on the survivor's side, and the bullets are defective, and they backfire, and all of Negan's forces lose, and Rick takes over. There's also the old man Rick stuff, and the dream, and Carl, and everything like that, and what Rick wants to build. The biggest misstep, I think, is the Carl stuff. Maybe that's the reason why a lot of people really hate this season, or they downvoted a lot. It's because the choice to kill off Carl was not one that I think anybody really wanted, and that's, I got to agree, that's probably a misstep. But then again, it depends what they want to do. It depends if they want to go in between. So you're going in between and having a really nice story, which keeps the audience happy, and keeping the audience on the edge of their seats so they don't know what's happening. And The Walking Dead used to be more kind of towards a nice story approach, where a lot of those central characters were surviving all the way through, and fan favorites were surviving and that kind of thing. And the ones that were killed off were less fan favorite, like Lori and characters like that people don't really like. So they killed them off more. Now they've kind of switched. They've kind of, with season 9 and season 8, they've gone further the other way to that more unpredictable side, where they're keeping you on the edge of your seat because you don't know. You really don't know if Daryl and Carol are safe. I mean, you think that, yeah, they pretty much are. But then we thought that about Carl, too, and we thought that about, Rick. We never thought Rick would leave, and maybe he wasn't killed, but he still left. So season 9, we get that huge twist of things that we never thought was going to come, which was Andrew Lincoln leaving the show. In terms of the covers, he is on every single cover leading up to season 9, at least from the IMDb page here. It depends which. There's lenticular and stuff that has Daryl on the front of some, season 6, for example, and some of the different covers don't. But the main releases for pretty much every season pretty much do have Rick on the front. So to have Rick leave is kind of like the end of that part of the story, and a lot of people thought it would kill the series, and it got 90%. So season 9, the highest rated season ever, and it's a season that we lose Rick, and that could have gone really bad, but it didn't. So it's a very strange situation, what's happened with The Walking Dead. But I guess season 9 was handled so brilliantly, and they did such a great job of it. They used time skips more than they ever did before to kind of keep things interesting and bring us to the interesting parts instead of dwelling. Season 7 and season 8, there's a lot of moments there where you don't get the sense that a lot of time is passing, and you're going through some stuff like right after. Season 9's approach of, we're going to go through just the good stuff. You don't have to watch through everybody sitting around crying. We're going to go from here, and then we're going to go there, and then Rick leaves, and we're going to reflect on it later in a flashback, but we're going to go right to 6 years later. We're going to do, we're going to have these skips in between, and it's crazy where the season starts off for season 9. You have Maggie, you have Rick, you have the good old gang still, and then where it ends off at the end is like a totally different, it's a totally different group, it's a totally different show, it's totally reinvented itself, and that's what basically it said. So the series so far, season 10 coming up in the fall. Very excited to see what they have for it. I think The Walking Dead is cooking on all cylinders, and I'm feeling very optimistic for the series going forward with the way they're using the time skips, with the way they're trying to do things they've never done before, like the winter time at the end, to give the audience something new as much as they can. It seems that people are happier with kind of a less war approach, which is what we saw in season 7 and 8, and kind of a more sort of horror when it needs to be, like the Whispers with razor wire and like Alpha and stuff like that, the heads on the pikes and stuff. So rather than kind of an action-based war type of feel or theme for it, season 9 has gone with a dramatic horror drama type of mix, which has less action than before, except for the Daryl versus Beta episode, the fight. And kind of more just that raw horror with the Whisperers. Okay, we're not going to show you her going after them and actually capturing all of the people. We're just going to show you a bunch of heads on pikes right after, right? And we're not going to explain it to you. Here's a time skip for you. Alpha's at the movie theater, right? They're watching a movie. She's putting her hand. Then she's talking, and Lydia is going to scream because she's not a whisper. And then, boom, there's a bunch of heads on pikes over here 5 minutes later. So, good stuff. So, it's hard to say where the strongest points of the first decade are, right, with Season 10 coming up. I think it's amazing they've gotten to this point. And the most amazing thing in the entire series, at least right now, I have to say, is how they were able to deliver such an amazing Season 9 when everything was stacked against it. Maggie was leaving and everyone knew it. Rick was leaving and everyone knew it. And a lot of people thought that when Rick leaves, we're all going to abandon ship. It's going to be half. This is videos that we did before it actually aired. Half the audience in polls said that they would stop watching if Rick left, or if Rick was killed, basically. And he wasn't killed, but he did leave, and they didn't. Everybody kept watching, basically, or almost everybody. The ratings were almost at the same level as what they were at before. So that's really incredible, and if they can continue to do that kind of season that they did in Season 9 going forward over the next few years, I think not only will they sustain their fan base, but maybe they can add some new fans on too with some new characters they're bringing in, and just keep it going really strong. So personally, I'm feeling really optimistic for the next decade of The Walking Dead. And even though we've heard news that Denai Guerrero's Michonne will be leaving and other people, that's going to happen over the years, right? If you go 10 years of a season or 15 or 20 years. People are going to leave sometimes. Not everybody's going to be committed to stay for their whole career. Not everyone's going to love it that much, or not everyone's going to maybe get paid versus other series or other movies or stuff as much as they want in business-wise. They want to leave, and that's fine. There's nothing against anybody for doing that, trying to do the best they can. Not everyone's going to want to stay or going to get the best deal in order to stay. They can't give it to everybody, so it's just kind of the way it goes. But certainly leave your guys' comments below. What are your favorite parts of the series so far in the first decade and in the 10 years reflecting on The Walking Dead? Was the beginning your favorite, kind of that nostalgic sort of just the zombie apocalypse part of it, where it was all about the zombies and just survival? You could look at that as the first 2 seasons, definitely. The third, bringing in Woodbury and survival after that with the Walkers 2 and the governor kind of coming back. And then Season 5 gets a bit more interesting, I think, where you have that as well, but then you have other communities and they're on the road and they're trying to find a spot as a bigger group, which is fun. And, just running into different communities and stuff. Season 6 with Alexandria, and a big Alexandria feel for a while, but not so much lately. Just getting to see Alexandria here and there in Season 9, and not too much. And then Season 7 and 8. I will look at Season 8 as kind of a sort of all-out war, a sort of climactic finale for me of the Negan stuff and of Season 6, 7, and 8, kind of the first lead up all the way to there. And then Season 9, kind of a new switch off. That's kind of the way I look at it. Like Season 8 is like the end of the first big section. Season 9 is a big switch into something new. And now the series is going to continue on as kind of a new version of The Walking Dead with Daryl and Carol and Michonne and the others, with Michonne not going to be there long. So we'll have to see what they do after that, whether Negan gets more time or other characters move up. It's just hard to say because there's hardly anybody still kicking that's going to be able to fill some of those spots. So I did say that we were going to do some of your guys' questions for today, but I guess we're over 20 minutes now, so I think we're good for now. Let's do one just to say we did. Tucker Gallatin left a great comment, and other you guys did too, and we'll get to yours in the next video. But he said that, I know Rick will probably never return to the Walking Dead TV series, but I'll be very annoyed if we never get to see a Daryl and Rick reunion. Yeah, that's true, man. We'll have to see what they have planned, because I think there's a lot of us that would love to see certain characters reunited with Rick, Carol, Daryl. That sad scene in Season 9 when Andrew Lincoln and Melissa McBride were filming their last scene and Rick was kind of teary-eyed and that kind of thing. That was sad, right? If you watch it back, their last scene they filmed together, you can tell that he's emotional, right? More emotional than... But I liked it, because it's like that could be their final scene they ever shoot together if they don't cross over. So let's hope. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they could have some big Walking Dead reunion party and have it make sense creatively in terms of the writing without it feeling too contrived. So we'll see what they do. I guess that's pretty much it for my reflections on the first decade of the Dead. 10 years of The Walking Dead. what I consider to be the greatest zombie apocalypse story ever. Whether you prefer the comic version or the TV version, I think is up to you. But for me personally, I look at The Walking Dead as the best zombie apocalypse anything that's ever been done. Be it video games, the movies, the Dead movies, Romero's classic, legendary Dead movies. I mean, to me, nothing can really compare with Walking Dead as far as zombies go. There's other series that are fun, but I think The Walking Dead is definitely the best overall, and the one that offers the most with this many episodes, and then being of that good a quality. It's like, if you consider it in movie terms, like how many movies, does the series, because season 9 is like a movie almost all the way through. So we'll see what the Rick movie actually looks like, and if it's even more, I don't know, bigger scale than even what we've seen so far. But it's going to be difficult, man, to, season 9 was so good. It's like, I don't know how you're going to beat that. I just don't know. So there's my reflection on 10 years of Dead with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some value in it and that you had fun looking back on the series with me. I know we've done reviews for each season and that, except for season 9. I should do a review for that pretty soon. And I don't want to, repeat the same stuff. But I just thought it was fun, man, to take a look back, considering it's 10 years of Dead now. So let me know what you guys think. If you liked the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and let me know what you guys think. What are your favorite parts of the series? I don't think there's a right or wrong here. It's subjective. It's whatever you think. What for you were the best parts of the series? How do you view each season? And which parts stick out to you the most, from each year of The Walking Dead? That'll be it for my video today, guys. I hope you liked it, and if you did, thumb it up, subscribe at the bottom left if you're new, and I'll see you guys back again soon. Of course, we got some other big series coming up. Game of Thrones airing tomorrow night, so excited for that, and Fear the Walking Dead coming in June. Let me know where you guys are at, and that's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.